Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Bobby Cleveland, Executive Director, Oklahoma Corrections Professionals, along with State Representative J.J. Humphrey. And we've got a boatload of stuff today. I guess we just need to get started on J.J.
Well, Bob, I think the first thing that we ought to talk about is, have you been told? I've heard, I know you've heard, that the director may have gotten another $60,000 raise.
Well, that came from one of two people. Either that police officer that came in, what's his name?
Sparks.
Sparks, or it was the warden at over at Stringtown. They were the two hosting the town hall. Now I don't know why he picked that warden out to be host of the town hall. I don't know. I could see that Sparks was in it because he's in management, but I don't know.
But well, surely, I mean, if the way it was put to me was that this would be on top of the 90,000 that he's already gotten. So right. It would be, so since he's came, you're talking about $150,000 raise if this is true. So Bob, I just want to tell everybody out there, if this is true, please contact me if you know this to be true, because I'm going to tell you, I'm going after that like a biting hog. I've been on him on the 90. And in fact, I think I've got some records right now that might verify that I believe that a charge of embezzlement is warranted, because again, there is no record of him getting the authority to get the 90,000. And so if he's giving himself another 60, I sure want to. And Bob, you know what's sad on this? We worked 3 or 4 years ago to find the money in their budget to get the officers raise. But the state, when we look at, has the state given raises, that the state appropriated more money, 30% raises for the troopers. So the state gave the money for that. They didn't give us money in the Department of Corrections. They did not give not $1. We found that money in the Department of Corrections and were able to get officers that big raise and get all employees some raise. But, the state didn't kick in any money to get them raises. And that's been several years ago, and we've not seen. We're below standard. We're below where we need to be. And if he gave himself 60,000, wow.
I don't know where that came from. I mean, apparently it's on that blog they do with the director every once in a while.
Is that the same blog where they said that I didn't have any promotions and that I was a terrible employee? If anybody saw that, write that in to me too. If anybody saw that, I'm fixing to hold them accountable for some of that. So if you've seen that, last year they put out that I had been disciplined, that I had been never promoted. Well, I got the records now that show they didn't have any, that they don't have any records of discipline, and that they don't have, or that they did have records that I was promoted numerous times, 5 times, I believe. So again, if you heard them put that blog out or that video out, just write me at Justin.Humphrey, HUMPHREY at okhouse.gov. Justin, JUSTIN.Humphrey, HUMPHREY at okhouse.gov.
Well, hey, I want to change the subject real quick. I got a news bulletin that there's a big protest in New York City with the illegals, and that ICE is going in there arresting them all.
Right.
It's about time.
They were meeting with the mayor, I think, to talk about where to house all the illegals that they were going to gather up. If I saw all that right.
Yeah. Well, we still got assaults going on with inmate on officers.
Yep. Well, Bob, also, hey, before we get off the director, because I'm just ticked off about the director's salary, if that's true. But Bob, when he got the $90,000 raise, he was the same as Texas. He was, I think, 15,000 less than California. But those two places are astronomically larger. They have a huge Department of Corrections. We got smaller. So his salary is already up there with some of the top in the United States. He has zero experience. The guy's a disaster, and he's going to get 60,000 more. Boy,
well, he's also going on some kind of a committee. I don't know what that's all about. They selected him that he lobbied for.
Yeah, the ALC or what is it? American Correctional ACL, American Correctional Leaders. How does he get picked on that? Because I mean, the guy's got zero experience.
Well, he flew up there and wined and dined him. Told how much he knows about prison. What we got to do to make when he makes these change the lettering or change the letters or not letters, change the wording of different things like we save lives.
Yeah,
and that's just a huge thing according to him and the governor that he come up with that. That was just miraculous.
Yeah, I noticed they changed that though because it wasn't so miraculous. It didn't take hope like they thought it would. You know, how about going back to our old? You know what, Bob? I guess maybe I'm old school, but you know when you huffing something, Bob? You're huffing stuff.
I'm
Don't be huffing on.
It's a vapor inhaler.
You're vaping. You're vaping. Is what you.
No, that's not vaping. It's not vaping.
But Bob, you know, back to
Vicks.
Back to the motto. You know, we had one forever for as long as I can remember, which is protect the public. You know, that's what we ought to be doing: protect the employee and protect the inmate. And you know that goes in the order of what I think it needs to be done. And again, if you're doing all of that, then you're doing what's going to protect everybody. Protect everybody, you know. And
but he likes to put out the information that he's really protecting. That he's really for the inmates. He really wants to protect the inmates.
Well, Bobby presents this image like, boy, we're doing all of this to improve inmate lives and change lives and do all this. Guess what? They're doing less than what they were 30, 40 years ago. You know, tell me what rehab programs they got. Tell me what
they dropped most of their programs they have. They don't have near the programs they used to have.
No, I mean they cut. He's not brought them back. He's not tried to do anything. And guess what? I mean, if you weren't traumatized by the time you got into penitentiary, you will be the time. They change lives. Yeah, you'll be.
Well, they changed between the rapes and turning those people into hookers, and you got the all the other stuff going on.
Well, Bob, there's
drugs in the prison. Everything. That's old news. Everybody knows that. Go ahead.
There's not been a week that we've had. I believe in all the time that we've been doing this OCP, and we have not missed. Bob, I bet we ain't missed 4 or 5 times in 3 years. You know what I'm saying? We've taken off a holiday, maybe Christmas or something. We've been pretty consistent coming on here and speaking for an hour a week. And Bob, I remember 2 times that we could not report on violence that we didn't, you know, and again, a couple of the ones today, I think we got a death at, what is that, Northeastern Oklahoma Correctional Center.
Is that Veneta?
No, that's up there around Veneta, I think. Or is that the one in Enid? I can't remember.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Maybe I can't remember, Bob. But
that's where Jason used to be.
Yeah, I think it's at Veneta, I believe, but I won't swear. But here's the thing, Bob. You got these people now on that death. I can't tell whether it's natural or whether somebody killed them. By the way, I appreciate everybody who told us what attended and unattended. So attended is at the hospital. Unattended is not at the hospital. It's amazing how they come up with these words. I've been in corrections forever and never heard that. But apparently this guy was unattended, not at the hospital, died supposedly of natural causes. I don't know whether it's natural. Had another one at HARP, I think was basically the same way. Bob, why aren't these people at medical facilities? I understand you have an accident every now and then, but, to have this many people not in medical dying like that. And Bob, how old are, I'd love to know how old these people are that are dying like that, because it doesn't seem natural.
Yeah, it'd be nice to go and look at their medical records.
Wouldn't it? But Bob, they don't.
I know they're trying to save money, so they may not be trying to do any medical.
Well, I mean, that's another thing. Cut here, cut there, cut on the food. Bob, one thing we didn't even list in there that is huge, that they're going to privatize food. So food service, have you heard that?
Yeah.
Now, what's that? Bob, I never see anything in this type of setting where you go to privatize it that it doesn't cut down on the quality, on the portions, and all of that kind of thing. So again, here we go. What's going to happen in this, and I'm going to be very interested who gets the contracts. Bob, what you're seeing in Doge is all the money that's going somewhere. But guess why these guys are squilling? Guess why all them Democrats are squilling down there like pigs caught under a gate? They're squilling like pigs caught in a trap. I'll tell you why, because they know where they found this 84 million or 20 million, Sesame Street in Iraq, 20 million. Somebody's going to start looking where'd that 20 million go? Because it don't take no 20 million to put on Sesame Street reruns in Iraq. So guess what? Same thing here. We get these contracts. I'd like to see where the money goes. Who's the money going to? Who's free?
This got confirmed it was Veneta.
That was Veneta. Yeah. Okay. Bob, you know what that means?
What's that mean?
I was right, Bob. I
thought you said, I think it's Veneta. I said Veneta, and you go, well, I don't know.
No, I said, Bob, I think that's Veneta. That's different. I didn't say it like I think. I said, Bob, I think.
I don't think you have to go back and watch it.
Bob, that's me being polite, telling you you're wrong. Okay, I didn't come out and go, Bob, you're wrong. I said, no, Bob, I think maybe you're right, Bob, but I think it's this.
It's Veneta.
It was Veneta, yeah.
Yeah,
but here's the deal.
Right, yeah.
They had another beating at Allen Gamble. I think the guy got beat with the tray or something, I was told. So again, we had that. Bob, I don't know. I got a report from, I think it was Great Plains. I'm not sure on this report. If anybody knows on this report, I had heard they had a major, like, breakout, a big incident involving multiple people, and that 7 people were injured. Now, I don't know that to be true, but if somebody could write in and confirm, is that true? Is that not true? Again, I will tell you this, Bob. I will give the director credit. He's good at one thing. Guess what he's really good at, Bob?
Hiding everything.
Keeping the records closed. Bob, I tell you, they cover up incidents. I'm getting reports, Bob, all the time about them changing the incident reports. Have you been hearing that? I mean, they're changing.
Well, they did an incident report from the facilities, and they send it in, and then they change it there at Martin Luther King to what they want it to be.
Yeah, I mean, being told a guy
had a knife or had a gun or something. Well, they'll take that off because that looks too bad.
Bob, you know what? I'm being told they're told not to even send some stuff in, stop it down at the lowest level and not even report it so that they don't get these bad numbers and that stuff is not, reported. But Bob, I was told that they had gotten a gun into one of the facilities, even into a higher security area in that facility. And again, I mean, there's one thing to having knives all over the place. We know there's a lot of weapons in a facility. We know that weapons have increased astronomically under HARP. And you know what? As correctional officers, I know y'all don't like that. And sometimes what I say may not set right. But if I was an inmate, I don't know that I wouldn't. I'd hate to be an inmate and not have a knife. I mean, in some facilities, because it's ugly in some facilities. And so again, but the difference, Bob, between having a knife and having a gun, when you hear a gun brought into a facility, it's unbelievable. The only time I've heard of a gun being brought into a facility since I've been around corrections, Bob.
Yeah, I do know.
What
guy brought a gun in at McAllister.
Who was it?
During the time of the execution when there was training.
Yep, that's it, Bob. Who was it?
Oh, it was the director. Who else would do it?
Harpe's the only one I've ever known of pulling a gun into the facility. So, I mean, that just shows you how much he knows. But here's the deal. These are inmates carrying guns in facilities. Guys, if you are hearing that inmates are able to get guns into the facility, please let us know that is unbelievable. That is beyond the pale. That is beyond anything I've ever heard. If security has gotten to that point, we're in a hell of a shape. We're in bad shape. And again, this director needs to be called on it for certain. No question about it. He needs to be called on that. No doubt about it.
Well, things aren't getting any better. It's just we get the same thing almost every week somewhere. Hello,
Bob. Yeah, well, I was just looking, Bob. I was trying to find out where an incident happened, and I'm trying to find it. I write myself notes, Bob. So I've got. Let me see. I talked about. Did I mention HARP? Okay, I was told one died at HARP, one died at Northeastern, one got beat at AGCC and died. Multiple.
I think that's where they had about like 7 inmates jump on a guy.
No, that was Great Plains, Bob.
Oh, okay. Excuse me.
Yeah, wrong, Bob. Boy, I'm hammering it.
Okay, I give it to you.
Hey, Bob. Issues. So that's Bob. There's only about 5 deaths that I've got. Well, 1, 2, 3 or 4 deaths, and then Great Plains incident. If that's true, whether they actually had that many assaults, that would not be a riot. What would that be, Bob?
Mini riot.
No, Bob. You have no institutional knowledge.
Okay, what would it be?
That's called a group
disturbance.
Yes, you're learning, Bob. Group disturbance. Now, Cade would have gave you an F for institutional knowledge on that. You got to learn the.
By the way, JJ, the incident reports are done on computer now. They're not done on paper. They send in there on the computer.
Well, Bob, I've been told by several that the way they do it now, that each institution can't even see. So you want to talk about piss poor, that you as here in this institution can't see what's happening on this institution, because that's how we learn and that's how we know. And the inmates are communicating with each other. Now, the inmates are communicating. So what HARP in his great infinite wisdom is going to do is cut off information to the facilities, so our facilities can't communicate, but inmates can communicate. Now, who does that give an advantage to, Bob?
helps the inmates. They don't want. That's exactly why he didn't want me in there, because of transparency. He doesn't want any transparency. Anybody knowing anything that's going on in there, and the officers, if anybody needs to know what's going on. So what happens at one place ends up happening at the other place.
Bob, one of the institutions got a hold of me about, it's still called Roku, on TV,
Yeah.
Roku. So apparently they get these sticks that they can use on their computers there, and they can watch Roku. So I believe that was at OSR. I won't swear that I got reports. They were cutting the Roku. They were cutting those sticks. So I didn't really get whether the person was opposed to that or not opposed to it. It does help keep the inmates entertained. But the question is, can they get, do they have access to porn? Do they have access to some things that they may not need access to? So that got cut off. I know that was a big issue going on, that is causing a little ruckus. And again, the problem, Bob, is when your inmates control the institutions as we believe they do right now, then any little issue can start a major disruption. One of those group disruptions that Kay talks about can be started as simple as something like this. So again, everything is an issue. I'm hearing that is a big issue.
Well, she's been doing that for a year now, so she's very knowledgeable of the situation.
Well, I mean, yeah, absolutely. Got a whole lot of knowledge there. I never even heard of a group disruption until she came along. Wow. So, yeah, they had another. Bob, I do want to tell you that they did have something impressive this week. What do you think was really happened, Bob, that was extremely impressive that we don't see happen hardly at all anymore in the Department of Corrections?
What?
They had an escape. They actually had 2 people escape.
No, walk away.
No, I think they classified these as escapes, Bob.
No, the news did is escape, but they still said it's a walk away. That was the latest for me.
Okay, well, my bad. The news classified.
Yeah, you got to stay up on the news.
Well, here's the deal, Bob. I guess that they didn't. I guess that they didn't get the news bulletin. The news people didn't get the news bulletins between walkaways and escape. I guess, Bob, I would say, Director, how about we set some parameters here? If they make it out of state, then can we please classify it as an escape? Because now, Bob, they escaped from Hamilton. So Hamilton's just a spin away from the Arkansas line, but they did make it across state lines, is my understanding, before getting captured. So my understanding.
The reason that was just a walk away because they don't have a fence around them there, and they can just walk off anytime.
Is that the difference between walkaway? So if you got a fence, y'all help us out. Somebody.
No, it's not the difference because they still have it the other way too. But that was what they're saying now in this particular instance. There was no fence there, so that was a walk away.
Well, if our listeners could help us out like you did, unattended and attended, hey, help us out because we have no institutional knowledge. So we don't know the difference between a walk away and escape. See, me and Bob just ignorant that way because we just thought that if people left the prison and they're unaccounted for, I guess if you're over 50 or so, then everybody over 50 used to call that escape. So I don't know. Maybe everybody over 30, possibly everybody over 20 called that escape, Bob. I don't know anybody who used to not call that escape. But now, due to the new language, it's hard. We have a language barrier, Bob, between.
Well, we don't have any escapes. Did nobody escape from there?
Yeah.
They just walked off. They didn't escape.
Well, so. Bob, another thing that happened this week that I think is worthy of talking about, I come out with a bill to say that I wanted to abolish.
Go to the prisons anytime. Visit the prisons.
What's that?
Visit the prisons?
No. I want to abolish mental health and send them all to prison.
Okay.
Put it under the Department of Corrections. Now, Bob, I was just doing that to rile people up because here's the deal. We're already doing that, Bob. Department of Corrections is getting all the mental health people. We're not designed to equip to deal with them. And so now, because our jails are filling up with them, our jails are kicking them to the Department of Correction. And guess what? We're having to deal with them. And so it's not right. So I was calling out mental health, saying that they need to establish more beds and that they need to do something to increase the number of beds that they have because they are getting a big fat F as well. So
hey, if you go to court and the judge says you're guilty, you go to so you got to go to prison for 3 years.
mm-hmm.
Do they DOC have the right to just leave that guy at the county jail?
Well, if the county jail lets them, Bob, so the county jail can call them and say, hey, we want this guy out of here, and call them and tell them to pull chains on them, what they call it. But if the county jail leaves them, and quite frequently the county jail wants to leave them because that's guaranteed pay. And so they can sit there and leave somebody for a long period of time and get paid on them. So some people, can be there for a long, long period of time if they don't raise Cain, or if the facility don't, if the jail doesn't raise Cain, and DOC may choose to leave them there. So if they do, though, DOC has to reimburse the jail for all the costs. Bob, I know everybody had to see my other bill that I throwed out to change the name of the Department of Corrections to the Department of Corruption. And again, I just want to tell everybody, I love y'all. Y'all doing an awesome job. That's not meant as a plight on y'all. That's meant as a, your director is corrupt. He is the director of corruption. And so again, I'm not trying to be ugly towards you guys. I'm trying to be ugly towards this corrupt administration is what I'm doing. And I'm calling mental health out. I'm calling corruption out of the out. And, again, we're trying to expose everything that is going on in these facilities and everything that is going on with HARP. And again, you know what I'm saying? HARP sitting up there saying that he's got an 80% retention rate in employees when Bob, again, all week, I've been called all week on people who would never, ever be forced to work in, in positions, wardens, deputy wardens alike. And guess what? They're being forced to work in positions they never would. Now, does that sound like an 80% retention rate? Because I've never
seen it. Is, JJ. You have to understand exactly how they come to this. And I don't think you grasp the math they use at DOC.
Bob, I want to tell you something. I'm highly qualified in fuzzy math. DOC fuzzy math. I've got an A in it. Fuzzy math, Bob.
But you don't know how they figure that. How they come up with it. They just make it up out of the blue, out of the...
Bob, I know how they do it. They take off a whole bunch of people off. So they take 400 off and say, we used to have these 400 positions. Because we don't have them filled anymore, we don't need them anymore. Bam, there's 400 gone. And now we're only 100 away from having what we're claiming needs to be. So guess what? We're 80%. That's how they do it, Bob. Okay. It's unbelievable. It is unbelievable. Boy, Bob, I'm clogged up today. I'm about, I don't
know if you noticed or not, JJ. Did you notice how I would turn my head and cough?
See, Bob, I'm not coughing.
Right to the phone, right into the Zoomer. The
Bob,
Zoomer
I ain't coughed. I've cleared my throat. I'm clearing my throat because it's
picking up that infection and just slipping it right around here, right into my laptop.
I'm infecting. Yeah, I'm giving you a virus. Bob. Hey, Bob, you know what I think everybody needs to know? And I want to just tell y'all something. I see y'all out in the community. I've run into, I don't know how many people from the Department of Corrections this week when I'm out there getting gas or going to a convenience store all over the state. I'm all over the state. And I have run into so many people this week that have told me, hey, we love you too. We appreciate you too. Y'all keep doing it. I've received messages. I've received emails.
Nice.
I have, Bob. This week I've got more support than ever before. And I just want to tell y'all how much I appreciate it, because guess what? Y'all may not know this. And a lot of times you think, well, me and Bob, we don't work for the department. So guess what? We don't have to worry as much. They're not going to come after us like they would you. And guess what? That's not true.
That's not true at all.
No, because they went after Bob. They have tried to shut OCP down. Now, the director has done many, many things to try to ruin OCP, to try to get into the board and get the board to do his bidding to ruin OCP. He has, he's went after Bob. He's told Bob he's got no use for OCP. He's got no use for what Bob was doing, that he did not want transparency. And so again, the way I look at that, when he says he doesn't have any use for OCP, what he said is he has no use for the employee association. Now, any other place works with their association. If you want to go see the Highway Patrol, which he claims to want to be like, but if you want to go see the Highway Patrol, guess who's got one of the strongest employee associations? You wonder why that they get raises and you don't? You wonder why that they get super good uniforms and nice cars, nice badges, nice guns, while they're taken care of like the cream of the crop, and why you're not? It's because you don't work your association. If we had a strong association, guess what? We have the ability to be stronger than they are because we have more employees. The more employees we get, the more money we would have to fight this. The more employees we got involved means the more votes. We would be spread out all over the state, votes all over the state. We would be very, very powerful. Your director would have to pay attention if we would strengthen our association. I want to tell you, join OCP. That's the way you change things. That's the way we have power. But I can tell you, the main thing the director doesn't want is for you to do that. So we're working on a way. We've been trying. Our website got hijacked. So our website got hijacked. So if y'all want to know, we come out about 3 weeks ago saying that we were going to make a way for you to join where DOC wouldn't know that. What's the delay is our website got hijacked because of some of this stuff that the director has done to cause problems, and our website got hijacked. And now we're trying to get it back to where we can put that out there on that. So I want to encourage you, be watching. And when we get that done, we want you to join. We want to become that powerful association like we have been in the past, and we can get there again, no problem. But if you think they're not after Bob, you're wrong. And if you think they haven't come after me, guarantee you, I mean, he's went publicly out after me, which is okay. I'll go publicly out after him. I kind of like a good fight, right out in the public. Doesn't matter to me, but he has tried to destroy me. But he's met with leadership to make sure that I can't have records. He's met with leadership to what apparently looks like to get my committee removed, to get me removed as chairman. He's met with them to make sure we couldn't get subpoenas and records on things. And all of this, Bob, looks like, no, it doesn't just look like Bob. I've got the documents to prove. So again, now they're allegations until it gets proven, but we have the documents which would appear to prove that all of this was done to cover up them locking people in showers And again, what's great on my documentation is
human rights. Human rights.
It's human rights violation. But Bob, are you all right, Bob?
I'll be back.
I guess that virus I gave him kind of caught hope right there, I suppose. But guys, what's important on this and why it's taken me so long to get it is because I'm not interested in going after people on a lower level. What I'm interested in going after is the director. And I need documents to prove that the director knew it, and he tries to insulate himself. What he tries to put it on you guys. He tries to fire you guys. He tries to say, well, that's them, and we didn't know it up here. So what I've done is
you just kept talking. Did you know I walked out of the room?
Bob, I just thought that you had a virus. I thought I gave you that virus. And you went on. I did have to clear my throat one time, Bob. We're both down with it today, ain't we?
Yeah.
It's tough. It's tough.
Well, I took this throat longer, and I didn't have any coughing that night. I could sleep through the whole night. Didn't wake up coughing, and I thought, well, this sucker's got me going. But now it came back again. It didn't have it till I started on this. Started doing this.
You started talking to me, Bob.
Yeah.
That's all. And then you got to cough again. You got to croup again. Probably listening to me because you can hear that right there in my throat, you know. But here's the deal. I was telling Bob that the director, he tries to insulate himself. He tries to blame the workers, the employees, and he stays out of the fray. You know what I mean? And what we're trying to do is we're trying to put together a lawsuit that would show that this director had 100% knowledge of human rights violations. And that not only did he violate those, but that he also used his position with the governor, used his position in politics to meet with our administration, the House leadership, and plot and conspire together to stop me from getting records to prove these things, to prove the shortage in staff, which is one of the main things behind that all the rapes, all the killings, all of that, drugs. If you want to see what's behind all that, is the shortage of staff. He's lying about the shortage of staff. I went in to prove, and there's ways we can prove that, but our House leadership stopped us from getting those records. He wouldn't give the records. So it looks like they're working in concert to prevent me from getting records that would show human rights violations, show massive problems in the Department of Corrections. So this is a willful violation of the Open Records Act. It is, to me, a conspiracy. And I don't know if we could charge them with the crime of conspiracy. But again, they're conspiring to commit a crime, which is the Open Records Act. He has committed an embezzlement, I believe. I've got records, I think, to show that. So he's covering up his own criminal activity. He has gotten a lease for the downtown headquarters or the headquarters. I keep calling it downtown. I think it's on Lincoln right there. But he's gotten I think, Bob, I'd heard $100,000 a month on that. I don't know. But he got no legislative approval, which appears to be illegal, I think. Again, all of these are allegations until we prove them. But again, I've got documents on all of this stuff. And so not only that, it appears that he met with our new leadership to try to take out me on my legislation. And Bob, you know, when you file a bill that says you're going to, require that they let elected officials. Now, this is not a crazy bill. They got bills like this in other states that elected officials can show up and meet inmates without having to make a request, and that they can walk in and view the facility without having to call in advance. Now, Bob, there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I'm saying? But they come in and say, oh, we're already doing this. We're already doing this. Well, if you're already doing it, then what the hell's the problem? Oh, it's redundant. Like y'all ain't got anything that's redundant. Like we don't have redundancy in government. It's not already being done. You can't do it, Bob. You go up over there and just show up, see what you get. So, Bob, they've met. They've tried to take me out. They won't get my legislation in. Even when I'm chairman, they wouldn't even put it in my own committee on a correctional and the only correctional. So again, when you look at all of that put together, it does appear that they had a much more diabolical plan than just preventing me from getting records. It looks like that they were preventing legislation. It looks like they were preventing legislators from hearing. It looks like that they were controlling all of the things that were going on in corrections through the House leadership. And it does look like that they intentionally took out the committee and took me out, which is okay because that'll mean I just got more time to spend on them. But that is all coming forward. We're fixing to file a lawsuit. Now, the open records violations, I think, their own lawyer, I will tell you this, Bob, I sent it in to the House lawyer. Our own House lawyer said that if they did this, they were in violation of the Open Records Act. Well, there ain't no doubt they did it. I got their own emails. What's funny, Bob, I've spent a year with them telling me you can't have records because we have this agreement between House leadership and us that you can't have records because you released non-public information. Now, they're a state agency. How do you release non-public information? What information do they have that's non-public?
Well, they should be open book.
Well, Bob, and again, human rights violations are not, they can't claim, oh, that's confidential. You can't release that. It's human rights violations. Not only can I release it, I have an obligation and duty to release it. And if they will not listen and fix the problem, then I have an obligation to get it to the public. That is my duty. That's what I'm supposed to do. I want to see them argue that all day long. I want to see that argue. I want to put that director on there, read the documents that I have that clearly state what was going on. That clearly state, and here's what's funny, Bob. They're going to say, well, we don't have these records. They've already said it. We don't have these records. So they spent a year saying, you can't have this because you released this. Now I come back and say, show me the records where I released that. Show me the record where you have an agreement. Show me the record of your meeting. Guess what they say, Bob?
Wow. No record?
No record available. No record available. So here's the deal. So what you're going to get up and argue, Director, you're going to get up and argue that you had all these records to keep me from having it, but now you have no records. And then you're going to find out that I keep records pretty good, and I got all the records for the whole time where you're saying stuff like that. I've got the records showing why you wouldn't give it to me and what you're talking about. And I got the record of what it is. And you're going to have to sit on the witness stand, and you're going to have to read those to the public and say why you didn't do anything about it. And that you had to know it because guess what? It come from your office. You had to know it. And again, I handed some of the stuff to you personally. On all that rape stuff, I handed it to you personally. And you went out in news and slammed me for all of it. So you can't deny, he can't deny having knowledge of it, Bob. So it's going to get pretty interesting. I've got to get it all typed up. I've got quite a bit of it typed up. Nowhere close to where I need to be, but I'm putting together the exhibits and I'm putting together the entire language. Of course, I'll have to send that over to lawyers and they'll have to put their magic on it. And so it'll take a week or two, but I look forward into holding them accountable. We're going to hold the House and the Department of Corrections and this director. We're fixing to hold them accountable like nobody's ever done before, I think, Bob.
Well, they should be held accountable because it's pretty clear that, everybody's not secret. Everybody knows it. And by the way, when you talk about the Office of Corruption, that's what everybody I know at prison calls it. So that's not something you made up.
No, it's not like my brainchild. I mean, I can tell you they've said that for years, and especially here lately, everybody says it.
Well, I'd never heard it like I've heard it now, but in fact, I don't think I've ever heard it. Can't remember ever hearing anything.
Well, Bob, the difference is when you put it in there, like to actually file a bill on it and put it out to the public. And again, Bob, what was so funny is I don't know how many media called, JJ, why do you file frivolous bills like this? And I told him, I said, well, what makes you think that bill's frivolous? Why would you think that bill's frivolous? I said, what are you doing? They said, what do you mean? I said, what are you doing right now? What are you doing? They said, well, we're talking to you. I said, exactly. You're talking to me about the department being corrupt. Let me tell you why they're corrupt. And I go down the embezzlement thing. I go down the, leasing 1.2 million without proper approval. I go down there talking about right now buying a 40-something-year-old prison for 300 something. Now, what's that all about? 314 million. And then they're going to have to turn around and have something at Hinton, which is the 8-man cells. Do you really want to buy Hinton?
What would happen if they do buy Lawton? What would happen to Jim Ferris?
Well, I think that company would probably keep him. I mean, Jim's actually got a good reputation with that company, I think. So I think they would keep him. That company has places all over, United States. I don't know, maybe all over the world. But I don't think his job's in danger. And I do want to say that, since he's went there, I don't think it's completely perfect yet. But I can tell you that we were getting called every week. You could just anticipate there was going to be a killing every week at Lawton. And they've had, I think, since he's been there, maybe 4 or so. I don't know. But, I mean, Bob, it's been radically reduced, you're not hearing the problems like you once was when he first took it over. And that's what I'm saying. If you let the right people go into the right places, but again, here's what's happening in the Department of Corrections. They've run off all of their experienced people. They're promoting people with 2, 3 years, 3 years up to warden, in captain's positions. And they're not getting the benefit of working with people. Man, I've learned so much from the people that I work. My first lieutenant, I had 2 lieutenants. Well, actually 3. I got one just wrote me the other day. I've had 3 lieutenants that were just, you know what I'm saying? They weren't just people I learned from. They just become people that I have super respect. One of my supervisors in probation, my youngest boys, named after him. These are people that didn't just train me. These are people that I've become absolutely, just great respect, great friends. So I've got a guy named McKnight that I love, Rosenthal. Oh golly, my brain went dead. Hill, Lieutenant Hill. Golly, I keep thinking, I can't believe that. But anyways, these are guys that I love. John Roberts, just a guy that I love, and that's what they're missing, Bob. They're missing these people that are, are putting so much into the younger group coming up, training them, teaching them, mentoring them, not just in policy, but how to act, what not to say, what to say. We've lost all of that. And again, we need people who can come back in and show that kind of maturity and that kind of level of professionalism to do what's right. One person I will say, Jason Lemons, we've had on here. How many times we've had Jason Lemon? Luke Pettigrew. We had Luke Pettigrew on here. The doctor, we've talked about the doctor. We need to get the doctor on here. But, you know, these are people that were doing highly professional work, recognized. There's a deputy warden that left there at Lexington. Super great guy, man. Worked with him, Mike, a super great guy. You know, these are people that we have lost because of HARP. HARP's just run them off. And we're losing that professionalism. We're losing that experience. We're losing that training. And it's just, you can tell it, Bob. You can see it in our department. So it's really mind-boggling what HARP has done to this department. And so, you know,
well, it'll take several years to get it put back together again.
Oh, Bob, if they hired the right person, it'll be interesting who gets this governor, and then to see who they would put in, you know, and again, if you took over as director, you know, I mean, you would have to put, I don't know that you could do it without maybe even calling in National Guard to get established. You know what I'm saying? Call in National Guard a couple of months and get things straightened out, and then try to do a hiring. There's some things you can do, I think, to reach out and pull those experienced people back into your department. These clowns don't know how to do it. They're never going to do it, and you could explain it to them, and they just, you explain to them, they bastardize and ruin. So, you know, I quit a long time ago. Bob, I told them about the computer program for the entire state. They snatched that idea and screwed it. I've laughed. They can't take nothing. If you want to watch it screwed up, let them have it and look at their computer program. Nowhere close to what I talked about to them. And yet they went in there and they were going to do their own thing, not give me any credit for it. I don't care if I get credit or not, but that's what they intended. They're going to get it. They're going to do it. Screwed it all up. It is screwed up. And again, I could do it for a couple of million, and they spent 35, 40 million on it, and put old Carpenter over it. You remember old Carpenter?
Yeah.
Him and Bear. Old Bear. Bob, I don't know if I mentioned last week. I may have mentioned last week. Boy, I've been getting a lot of calls on Bear coming in drunk. You know, I do want to call him. Bear, if you're doing that, stop coming to work drunk. If you're doing that, don't do that. You've done it in the past. Please don't do it. It looks really unprofessional. Hey, Director, you might want to look at that. One of you top people, I'm getting hundreds of reports saying that's true. I wouldn't say hundreds. Bob, I need to back up. That's a little exaggeration. Not 100, a couple of reports. Let me say a couple of reports.
At least 4.
Well, I've gotten several reports of him coming in drunk, and that people can smell, and we just got to pop on absolutely true.
So well, I got some things popped up here on the phone that says it's true.
Happening all the time. There's another one, true, happening all the time. So you know what, Director? There you go. I mean, we've gotten 2 just while we're sitting here. So if you don't think that I just want to make sure I don't exaggerate when I say hundreds. It's not hundreds, but it is quite a few, and it's enough to pay attention to. And we don't need people coming in drunk when you're turning around and firing people for a lot less. It's kind of like
JJ. There've been several wardens that you can smell it on them. They say all day long.
Yeah, I get calls on other ones, but he's the one I get mainly called on. His past history and his position, all of them. Anybody, hey, don't come to work drunk. And if you want to drink after, that's your business. Don't come to work smelling like alcohol, drunk, and intoxicated. That's almost as bad as carrying weapons into McAllister and shooting your own floor. I don't know that it's close, Bob. It's close.
Well, JJ, let's just close it with this. What would have happened had that been a regular correction officer? Shot his gun off there.
Well, Bob, let's talk about a regular correction officer coming to work smelling like alcohol. We're trying to help a person. Right now, that very thing happened where an officer came to work smelling like alcohol, was taken to task, was tested a little high, and was fired. But yet your high-ranking people can come in every day like that, and nobody say not one word.
When they get promoted. They get promoted.
Yeah, get promoted. Yeah, that's what happens to him. He gets promoted instead of run off.
Yeah.
I don't see how
Well,
that
hey,
happens.
JJ, appreciate you today, and we'll close it down and see you next Friday, same time, same place.
Awesome. Catch you later, Bob.
Bye bye.